Today we have a slight change of pace. I know the last couple of weeks I've been talking about digital marketing strategy and developing those and executing those and things like that. Today I'm going to introduce you to Courtney Celeste. She is a business coach and marketing strategist for online service-based businesses. She's based out of Utah, where I'm also based out of as well. She is a great coach and has helped many business owners with developing and executing a marketing strategy. And I thought it would be a great follow-up to the podcast I've done in the last couple of weeks about developing a marketing strategy. In this episode, we talk about some of the roadblocks that business owners face as they try to execute a strategy. Some of them may be non-tangible things or intangible things that come up, maybe some mindset issues, maybe some perspectives and hesitations that you might have in executing a full-blown content marketing strategy. And I think you're going to benefit from listening to this because you'll get some tips and tricks on how to overcome that. Quantity versus quality. Should you focus on just getting things done, or does everything have to be perfect before you execute? Those are the kinds of things that we're going to talk about. And Courtney brings a lot of energy, enthusiasm, experience to the conversation. And I'm really looking forward to it as we talk about business coaching, marketing strategy, and things like that. And I think you'll have a great time listening. So tune in to this episode and learn about how you can be better at executing all of your content and marketing strategy. Welcome to the latest episode of Corner Your Market. I'm your host, Silas Kimide. In this podcast, I talk about all things digital marketing, from website design and development to SEO and PPC, as well as paid advertising, email marketing, social media, and anything in between. If you're a small business owner, a marketing manager in a company, or an entrepreneur, this podcast is for you. So tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll gain some practical insights, new strategies, tactics, and tools that will help you grow your business. To subscribe, go to corneryourmarketpodcast.com and select the podcast app of your choice. Then you can hit subscribe within those apps. That again is corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Also, don't forget to like and share our individual episodes. You can also leave a review in the app once you've listened to one of our episodes. Well, welcome to this episode on Corner Your Market podcast. I know the last couple of episodes I've been talking about some pretty technical details and technical things about digital marketing. I know in our last episode we talked about digital strategy development. I've talked about Google Analytics, and I've talked about all these different things to keep in mind and grow as you're trying to increase your business. But I thought I'd kind of take a little bit of a not necessarily a detour, but kind of change things up a little bit. So I've been out there looking for, and trying to meet people and consultants, coaches, people like that would maybe add some value, definitely add value to this podcast. And so I came across Courtney on Instagram, to be honest with you. I was looking for different coaches and some of the stuff that they talk about because as a business owner myself, things get a little bit discouraging sometimes. Not discouraging, but just, you start to wonder about different things. And so I like to listen to motivational coaches. I like to look at what coaches are doing just to kind of keep myself excited and motivated, and also focused on what I'm trying to do, which is to bring value to business owners, entrepreneurs, and folks like yourself. So I reached out to Courtney. Courtney has a coaching business. She is at CourtneyCeleste.com, and she's been in business for a while. She's a business coach and a marketing strategist for online service-based business owners. She's based out of Utah. I'm also based out of Utah. So that was my other connection is I'm new to Utah, but I know that there's a lot of amazing people in Utah, and Courtney's one of them. She has a really successful coaching business. I think she just became a certified coach recently. She's got a business degree from University of Utah. So I want to welcome Courtney. Courtney, welcome to the show. I want to thank you for being here. I'd like you to introduce yourself because I don't think I did it justice, because you've got quite a bit of content and you've been working with a lot of different people. I'd like to hear a little bit about yourself, and just feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I was so glad when you reached out. It's so fun to connect with other business owners, especially in Utah. But yeah, you did great with my bio. So yeah, I
Okay.
am a business coach. I started my first online business in 2019, and I've pivoted a lot, which is something I always tell business owners. Like, you're going to pivot a lot when you get started to find what you really love. And I've sold everything from physical products, digital products, memberships, courses, one-on-one services. So I've kind of dipped my toes in all of it. And I just love working with business owners. I love helping people to like see their dream of starting a business and really making it a reality and helping them to have the confidence to show up on social media or to promote their offers. And I'm obsessed with working with business owners. So I'm excited to be here.
That's cool. That's good. I mean, I think the pivot word that you use is very interesting to me because I think sometimes we get a lot of consultants telling us, or at least the powers to be telling us to stay focused on one thing. But I think you have to have the wisdom to be able to know maybe it's time to pivot. The markets change, your passions change, things change, services change, and things like that. So I love it. So, in terms of coaching, what kind of coaching do you do to help a business owner grow? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. My process is maybe a little bit different than other business coaches, but I have kind of found what really works for my clients. So I do business strategy. So if I'm like walking someone through a process, we'll start with creating a strategy for them, whether it's a
Okay.
marketing strategy, social media, and then we work on really overcoming any of the obstacles that are coming up as they do that. Because a lot of times business owners are like gung ho, I want like a marketing or a social media strategy, but they fall off because they either don't believe in themselves or they have the doubts and the fears coming up. So I use my background in business mixed with my coaching certification to help bring the mindset and the strategy to business owners to make sure that we're not just giving them a strategy, but also helping them really succeed in their next steps and to feel like they can actually do this even on the days when they're like, I'm ready to give up. And it's like, no, you can
Right.
still do this. So,
That's interesting that you bring that up because I have actually given, I want to say over the last 10, 15 years, I have a presentation on developing a digital marketing strategy.
mhm.
And I actually did my last podcast on that. I did a two-parter. And a lot of people get overwhelmed after going through that process. Because I mean, I developed that after working in marketing for 25 years, right? So it's not something that just kind of came out of nowhere. And so when I give that presentation, I can see their eyes glaze over, the
Yeah.
overwhelmingness comes over. So I think that's important that you mentioned that because just having a strategy isn't enough. You have to have the will to execute it, right? Otherwise, it
Yeah.
doesn't happen, right?
Yeah. And I think that like, I love what you're teaching. I think it is so powerful. And it's what we all need to learn as business owners. And I do feel like sometimes we're like, we need to do all of it today. And you're like, no,
Right,
I'm just
right.
teaching you the strategy and the framework so you can start with it. So I think that's where the overwhelm
So
comes
tell me,
in.
like this is a good segue. I know we didn't
Yeah,
necessarily plan this, but
it's great.
it's a great follow up to my marketing strategy podcast actually because
Cool.
let's say you listen to the two parter. It's in depth, and if you want more information, I can always give people more information. But
Yeah.
what is the one roadblock that business owners have when they need to execute on a strategy? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think two of the biggest ones, I know you asked for one, I'm going to give you
Okay.
two: perfectionism and
Ah,
overthinking.
got it.
And I think that, okay, so I'm going to use your example of your strategy. You're giving everyone the exact roadmap. You're kind of like, here's what you need to do. And when we look at that, we're like, oh, I can do that. That's simple. He's broken it down. And we start doing it and we get trapped in like the perfectionism of like everything has to be done perfect the first go
Right.
around. And
Yeah.
we overthink everything to like the tiniest detail. When I always tell business owners, I'll use, for example, email marketing. Email marketing is not just going to happen in one day. You're not going to have a huge email list and funnels and beautiful nurture sequences. Like, I'm always like, start with step one. Maybe that's
Right.
all you're doing is you have a link on your website for people to join your email list, and that's
Yeah.
it. You don't have
Yeah.
anything else. But we get really trapped in the perfectionism that all has to be done perfect
Yeah.
right away, or we're not going to do anything.
That's a really good point because especially in digital marketing, when I started my career, print was still pretty big. Broadcast was it's still big, but it used to be occupied a bigger part of people's marketing budgets.
Yeah.
But with digital, you're right. There is an element of learning and growing and optimizing that goes with it. And also, I tell people this too, which is if you publish a web page and you don't like it, delete it and start. It doesn't. It's not set in stone. You didn't
Yeah.
order 10,000 copies of this. Like
Yes.
my banner in the background here. That had to be perfect because I'm not ordering that every other day. But
Yes.
digital marketing is that way, right? And so I tell people to go by the 80% rule. I don't know if you've heard this one or if it's just my head that created this, but it's like
Yeah.
if you're 80% there, move forward. Because
I
if you
love that.
start focusing, you're never going to get to 99.9. And by
Mhm.
the time you get to 99.9, what you need to do has changed. So you're never going to get anywhere, right? So that's a
Yeah.
good point. So you mentioned two. Did you cover two? I mean, I think you did cover two, right? Perfectionism and getting started
Yeah, and overthinking. And I
and
think those kind
overthinking.
of really tie together, but it is the overthinking of like, okay, well, I have to get to the next part and I have to do all these things and I have to make sure this, the plan is all working. And it's like you said, with digital marketing, it's such a different way of doing it because I always tell people like no strategy, there's no right or wrong strategy for you. There's
Yeah,
just one that's going to work and one that doesn't. And you really have to figure out what you enjoy doing because business is hard. Like there are days when it's hard. So it's like find what you love and what works. And like you said, you can post a million different web pages and it doesn't matter.
I remember one of your I was going to say TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, but your one of your Instagram videos, I don't know when you did this one, but you said when it comes to business owners, quantity is better than quality. Is that
Yeah.
where you get that from? Is just kind of like put yourself out there and improve the quality as you go along? Is that what you're trying to say there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a different way of thinking because I feel like I have other business owners who are marketing people and they're like, I don't believe in that. I
Oh,
believe in
really? Okay.
quality over quantity. But my thing is like I said, in this digital age, especially with like reels and TikToks, you can post 10 a day if you really wanted to, and it would not cost you anything except for
Yeah.
time. So I find that like this year, I've been challenging myself to do 5 videos every single day. And I
Wow.
cannot tell you the clarity that I have gotten since January because the more you post, the more you figure out like, oh, my audience likes that. They don't like that. I don't love that. Or I like this. You get your message clear. So like in this age of, digital marketing, it's like quality over or quantity over quality while you're getting started is what's
Yeah.
going to help you go
I mean,
farther
I
and
guess I
faster.
suppose I mean you've given tips and tricks on your platform about how to make sure that the quality you want to have a baseline quality, right? You had some tips
Yes.
and tricks on that iPhone thing about the quality of the video, things like that. I don't think that's what you're saying. You do need to have a little bit of a baseline, but in terms
Yes.
of what you're putting out there, put it out there, and that's part of the reason why I think we connected is because I really like that message.
Yeah, just experiment with it. Like you said,
Mhm.
there's a baseline of, quality that you want, but I also look at business owners who are like, I'm filming my first reel and I have no clue how to do it. I'm like, your first reel is going to suck. Like you're going to look back in a year and you're going to cringe at it. But if you wait to post that reel until everything is perfect, you're never
Yeah.
going to post it. So it's like if your lighting and your sound and your text and your on-screen presence can get better with every single video, you're
That's a
winning.
win. That's a big win.
Yeah.
So a little bit on the content side, because we come across this for our clients as well, which is we one of the things that we do really well at New Wine, my company is SEO, search engine optimization, and content marketing, and it's kind of related to some of the social media contents that the challenge is the same, which is business owners, marketers are like, well, where am I going to get all the content? Do you have any tools, tips, ideas, thoughts, feedback on building a content calendar, how to get the content out there, how to measure, optimize, all that kind of stuff? Kind of curious what you've been doing and what you've been telling your audience. And I think our listeners would find that very useful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely going to piggyback off what we were just talking about. It sounds so interesting because I hear a lot of people who are like, I have ideas, but I don't want to post them all at once. I'm not going to get any more. But ideas breed ideas. So the more you're
True.
in action on your ideas, the more you're going to have. But with social media, and I know we talk about niching down and ideal customers in marketing a lot. And sometimes we wonder, like, why is this actually helpful? A lot
Yeah.
of people are like, this is just fluffy. And it's like, no, it's so important because if you know who you're talking to, you can create content for days. I promise you, like I've gotten to the point If I open TikTok, I could record 15 or 20 videos today if I wanted to. Like,
Wow.
I always have ideas flowing because I've created content pillars for my business. And that's something I would really encourage like you guys
What's a
to create.
content pillar for our
Yeah.
audience that may not know the terminology? I've heard of content pillars, but maybe you can
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so they're kind of okay. So I had this described with my friend perfectly. So if you think of walking into a candy store, you know you're getting all the different kinds of candy, right? Like you just know I'm gonna have a ton of candy in here. But you sometimes have like the sweet and sour ones over here, you have the chocolate ones here, like they're kind of divided. So pretend like you're the candy store of your industry. What are
Okay.
the different topics that people are gonna come to you for? So for me, I talk a lot about social media, mindset, business tips, like strategy stuff, like what are kind of content buckets. And I think that when people create their pillars, they get too specific. But we have to remember
Oh,
like our customers are whole human beings too. Like they have all these different areas of life. So I always just tell people what are maybe like the top 3 to 5 topics that your ideal customer is interested in hearing about. Use those as your content pillars and then try and brainstorm other like problems or questions underneath them. And this is something I go really in depth with when I work with clients
okay.
because
Okay.
once you get those pillars, it's so
Yeah,
much
no,
easier
I
to create.
totally agree with you. I mean, we use the same strategy on search engine optimization and
Yes.
content marketing as well.
Yeah.
We recommend having I forget what I think we call it pillar content, and
Hmm.
then breaking off on those. And the other thing that when I talk to business owners, and they're talking about content, I always ask them, what are the 5 questions your prospect have asked you in the last month? You
Hmm.
know, and
Yes.
once they have a list of their questions, then you can break off on those as well, right? They might
Yes.
have asked about a feature or benefit. There might have been a sales objection. There might have been this or that. But we have people are asking you questions as a business owner or marketer, right? They're asking, or your salespeople. That's one thing I tell business owners if they're a little bit more larger company. Talk
Yeah.
to your salespeople.
Yes.
What are your prospects asking your salespeople, and why are they not buying your service? Your salespeople know all that. And
Yes.
that can be a rich source of content as well, especially for SEO, because
Yes.
now they might be going to Google and asking those same questions, right? And
Hmm.
so if you have the answer for it right there, then they're more likely to engage with you, and you'll have some really good outcomes from that. So that's good. I
Yeah.
really like that. Um, I think one of the things that maybe backing up a little bit on strategy, do you find that most of the people you're working with, or at least the business owners, they have a mindset for strategy, or are they just kind of? I know some business owners I talk to is like, it's all about sales. I'm like, well, it is about sales, but come on, man, you got to have a strategy, right? Do you run into that too as well?
Yeah, I do. I think that yeah, sales is always the big one. Like I need to find customers.
Right.
That's always the thing. Like I need to find more clients. I need to make more money. But I do think that there's an ecosystem of it. You have to have the business strategy. You have to have the marketing and the brand strategy. Like they all like really relate into your sales funnel. And so I think that that is something I work a lot with them
Okay.
because also it's so interesting, but your content strategy pulls in with your marketing strategy so much more than people ever realize. And so and you have to have your business strategy. You have to know what your goals are. So it's a huge thing where I think sometimes we forget, especially smaller business owners who are just getting started. It's like, okay, but I just need the money. I just want the sales.
Right.
But you
Right.
have to
Yeah.
have the strategy behind it.
Yeah. It seems a little bit like I fall into that trap. I mean, when sales is down one quarter, the next, I mean, I'm like, I don't want to do anything but, I mean, I've gotten to the point where sometimes I'll just cold call, it's like, I just got to get this thing going. But that may or may not be the best use of your time, right? Because there might be other things that need to be focused on your business, maybe find out, so I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think you've touched on, and I don't know if I heard you on your videos or if it was a conversation we had, but we talked a little bit about how content can be used in different parts of the customer journey.
Yeah.
Um, how does content influence different parts of the customer journey? I think when you say funnel, I think that's what you're talking about. But how do you create content to push people along a funnel or a journey?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have, these are my own opinions for this. You'll hear a
Okay.
lot of different ones from different marketing strategists, but I really believe that kind of going back to hit on when we were talking about content pillars earlier, and how you mentioned like, what are like the 5 questions you've been getting? Sometimes we think that we can only talk about those questions one time. It's like, oh, I already made a reel about that, or I already
Right.
posted a blog post. I can't talk about it again. But it's like, in regards to the customer journey, and like, your customer needs to hear from you so many times that you have to be repeating those pain points. You have
I
to
think
be
it's 8 or
repeating the
10
same
times.
topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 or 10 times. Yeah.
And I even heard something recently, and I don't know if this is an actual statistic, but it makes sense to me. I know in marketing, it's been said, 7 to 10 times is like, you have to see something before you buy. But I heard someone say recently that it's actually increased to 30 now if you're doing it on social media,
Oh,
because of
wow.
how much content people are consuming all day.
That is wow.
Wild. And when you think about it, like, I saw this, I was scrolling through TikTok. I'm obsessed with TikTok. I was scrolling through one day and this video popped up and the guy was like, I've got a question for you. Do you remember the last 4 videos you just scrolled past? And I was like, oh, that's
No.
embarrassing, because
Yeah.
no, I don't. I'm just scrolling. And so I think it's interesting that we have to, like, if we're thinking of the customer journey, sometimes we think like, oh, I talked about that a couple months ago, I don't need to cover it. But your customer might need to hear it 50 times before
Right.
they'll ever purchase from you. And so
Right.
just allowing yourself to be repetitive. I had a client that I was helping her with her social media strategy, and she had this event coming up. So I challenged her to post about the event in her stories every day, to talk
Okay.
about it in a different way, to encourage people to join. So she did it for 30 days. She had a great turnout. The day of the event, she had someone message her and say, I had no idea you had an event going on today.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
We were like, she's talked about it in her stories every day for 30 days. But it just was
Wow.
this, yeah, it was wild. It's just a beautiful case study, though, to see, like, sometimes we think like, oh, maybe I already talked about like that one tip for your dog last week. And it's like, you can talk about that every single week for the rest of the year. Like, be the go-to expert, because your customers are getting so much information that for them to even get into your funnel, they really have to
They
trust
have
you.
to be exposed. And I
Yeah.
think there's a little bit of a cross-platform issue here too. We talk about customer journey in our end with saying, okay, they see you on, let's say they see something on Facebook or Instagram, right? Then they're going to do a Google search. I mean, hypothetically, right? In a
Yeah.
typical journey. That means you have to be present there as well, right? And then they might go to your website, and then they need a way. Then there's retargeting, so get you back there. So there's that whole holistic, not just in one platform, but multi-platform reminders as well, and not
Yes.
just assume that that they're just going to do it, right? Because they're
Yeah.
not going to do it. So that's a great tip. What are some do you have interesting stories of maybe your own clients that I love that one story. What are some other things that maybe you've seen, like besides repetition, like have they gotten any complaints? Do they get unsubscribed? Because that's another fear that I hear from people is, oh, they're just going to unsubscribe, or they're going to, complain, or they're going to mute me or something like that.
Yeah. No, this is a great fear. And I hear this all the time from business owners. I actually did a poll in a group, like a Facebook group, and I was like, what holds you back from posting on social media? And the most common thing was, I'm going to bug people, or I'm
Right.
going to be annoying. And I heard this advice years ago, and it has helped me so much. If someone unsubscribes from your email list, they were never your ideal customer. If
Right.
someone unfollows you, they were never meant for you. It is so easy. I think with the algorithms too, and with emails, we're all inundated by it. So like, I even say send an email every week, like, or whatever you want, because people are going to have to delete it. Even if they don't read it, they're going to see your name and they're going to delete it. So send the emails if you're at that stage in your business. And with social media, the algorithms are so crazy. Not everyone's going to see your posts. And if someone gets annoyed, let them unfollow. Like, they were never meant for you anyways, because I mean, I know people who post multiple times a day and have hundreds of stories, and I'm like engaged all the time. So like, what are you posting next?
Right.
It's so good.
Right. I mean, to be honest with you, that you make a great point, because when we've done email marketing for our clients, that's one of the main complaints that we get is they're going to unsubscribe, and the numbers on unsubscribes is so low. I mean, I would say for every 1,000 emails that you send out, you're probably going to get maybe 2 unsubscribes. So that's a very low percentage.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like you said, that's maybe not, it's good. Now you have a stronger list. You just got to kind of find the people that are going to stay with you. The other thing is, and I do this too, because I'm not on Instagram a lot, or I'm not on social media a lot, but with those time blocks I do have, I do check out the people that I'm interested in, right? So even
Yeah.
and if they have 25 videos I haven't watched, I'm just going to watch two or three. I'm not going to watch all of them, right? So I think you have to kind of keep that in mind as well. And the
Yeah.
good point about your algorithm is just because you post it doesn't mean your audience is seeing it, because there's
Yes.
an algorithm in between that determines whether or not your content gets pushed to your audience.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's so hard. I wish there was like a secret sauce for it, but it is. You never know
There
who's
is a
going to
secret
see it.
sauce. We just don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is. It's all made up. Everyone has different ideas of what it is. So we just
Yeah.
do what we want.
Yeah. So what advice would you give, or what would you say to our listener? Maybe they just found the podcast and they're intrigued by content marketing and creating content and things like that. What are maybe 2 or 3 nuggets that you can leave them with?
Yeah, I think my first one, kind of what we touched on, quantity over quality while you're getting started. And if I challenge this to clients all the time, video marketing is so big right now.
Yeah.
And if you're terrified to be on camera or you're not comfortable with it, just know that that's normal. But my challenge to you would be film 5 videos on your phone every day. You don't have to even post them. There is no intent to post, but you just starting to record videos in your day-to-day life is going to help you come up with more content ideas, because like ideas breed ideas. And also it's going to help you get more comfortable on camera. So that's one of my biggest tips. Another one is like, don't wait, like start today. Like if people are going to judge you, if they're going to leave mean comments, let them, because like if you really want to go after your dreams, you have to be willing to just start. And I tell my clients all the time, I want you to cringe at your content 1 year from today.
That's
like
so funny.
I want you to make really good content that you scroll back to January and you're like, I cannot believe I posted that. Like it's so bad. But I think that's a big one. And then like you mentioned, what questions are you getting on the daily?
Yeah.
And I always say I hated when I first started my business and people are like, what questions are you getting? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even have customers yet. I'm just starting. Google is like such a good place to find what people are already asking, or Pinterest, like find the keywords and create content around that. And even if you only have 5 ideas for content, repurpose those 5 every single week if you want to. Like, don't allow yourself to be limited, and just know that like all of us are terrified to create content. And the people who are killing it, that love creating it, they've been doing it for a while. And the only reason they're good at it is because they started.
That's a good point. I guess you just got to start. I think if I'm hearing you right, you just got to start. You tweak, you modify, you change as you go along, and things like that. So that's great. I think that's a great place to start for our listeners, is just to kind of get it going, And so as we wrap up, where can they find you? I know you have a coaching. Talk a little bit about your business. We also want to, get you introduced to our audience. I mean, where can they find you? How do they work with you? Talk a little bit about yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram at Courtney Celeste Coaching. And that's where I'm the most active right now. It's where you can get in touch with me. I have a couple different ways to work with me. One of them is one-on-one coaching. So if you are like really stuck with your content creation and you want someone to really be there to not only hold your hand through the creation process, but also the mindset and really overcoming your fears. I love working one-on-one with people. And I also have a monthly membership where we do coaching, strategy, and masterminds. So if it feels—
is that a weekly call or a monthly call? Because I've seen you on your Instagram promoting it, but I wasn't sure if that was monthly or weekly.
Yeah, so we have weekly calls. So there's 1 coaching call a month, 1 strategy call, and then 2 masterminds, because I know we've talked about this, like running a business can feel really lonely. You feel like you're the only one going through all this. And so I created this group to not only give you coaching tools and strategy with starting your business and your marketing, but also as a way for you to connect with other business owners, because I feel like there's so much power in realizing I'm not alone. Like everyone's having these problems or these questions. And so our mastermind groups are just a great way to connect.
I know you mentioned your Instagram page, but your website is CourtneyCeleste.com, right? Is that the best place to kind of find you? So, okay.
Yeah, and there's all the details on there.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty rich website. You have some pretty good content there just to kind of introduce yourself. It's very well put together. So
Thank
great
you.
job. How about a couple of things I like to ask at the end?
Yeah.
What are some great business books that you would recommend, or maybe resources for our audience would be a good place to kind of start, or even a business book that you've read recently that you've been like, wow, this is great.
Yeah. Okay. One of my favorite books I'm obsessed with right now is Unstoppable Self-Confidence by Andrew Liedman.
Okay.
And that one is changing my perspective on everything. I think confidence is huge for business owners.
Okay.
So that's one I would highly recommend. I also love Atomic Habits. I think
Oh
that
yeah, I'm a
so
big
good.
fan of Atomic Habits. I
Yeah.
read that last year and it is amazing. I can't tell you how great that book is. How
Yeah.
have you implemented that? Have you finished reading that book, or have you
Yeah.
tried to implement some of that stuff? What are
Yeah.
some things that changed your life or your perspective?
Yeah, I think he talks about two things in there that have always stood out to me. The one is when he's giving the story of like, if you want to start running every day, the first step is just putting your shoes on in the morning. And then like,
Right.
you don't even have to go running, just put your shoes on. And I have thought a lot about that with content creation. It's like, okay, you don't even have to post something, but just set your phone up and get ready to record, or just
Right.
record it. Just start with like those small steps. So I love that. And he made a comment at the end of the book. I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's somewhere along the lines of the things that we're good at are the things that we should spend the most time developing. I think a lot of time business
Right.
owners are like, oh, like I'm not super good at this, so that's what I need to learn how to start a business. And it's like,
Right.
no, what you're good at is what you should be doing your business around. So
That's a great point. For
yeah.
me, the biggest thing from that book was habit stacking, or I don't know what he
Yes.
calls it, but I've implemented that very practically in my life, and it's really made a big difference in my family and in my marriage, which is when I'm making my coffee in the morning, I'm waiting for the water to boil and everything like that. It's just
Yeah.
enough time to empty the dishwasher.
I love that. It is. It's these little, and it's so fascinating because
Right?
I think we forget that it's these tiny, simple
Right.
things that make the biggest in life,
And
business, relationships.
emptying the dishwasher in the morning means the kids can fill it up. They don't have to make the excuse of leaving stuff at the sink, which makes
Yeah.
my wife happy, which has changed my life.
It's beautiful.
So
And I love that. Like, what a great thing for listeners to realize that goes into your business and with content marketing as well. It's like,
yeah,
it's these tiny, tiny little things. It doesn't have to be this huge, like, change your entire schedule. You're like, oh, I have a couple extra seconds. I'm just going to empty it really quick. Like,
yeah, right.
not impacting your day at all. No big
No.
routine changes. So,
Yeah.
so cool.
So great. Well, thank you, Courtney. I'm glad we connected, finally connected. Love the content on your Instagram page. CourtneyCeleste.com is your website. And I think we talked about great things here. We talked about content. We talked about, the journey. We talked about being a business owner and how lonely it can get and the resources we need and things like that. So listeners, if you're looking for somebody to kind of, whip you into shape, so to speak, give Courtney a call. Maybe there's opportunities for you guys to work together. But I think you definitely bring tremendous value to business owners, which is the lifeblood of this economy. I mean, I'm a big believer in that. So you're great. You're providing a great service, Courtney. So I really want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And to all of our listeners, feel free to write in and see what you think. If you have any feedback or anything like that, I can read it out loud in my next episode. But for now, I just want to thank Courtney and thank you all for listening. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
If you're a small business owner, a marketing manager at a company, or an entrepreneur, please tune in weekly. You'll gain some insights, tips, tricks, and be a bit more enlightened when it comes to digital marketing. I promise you, if you implement the strategies, tactics, and tools I discussed in this podcast, your business will definitely grow. Please subscribe to this podcast. You can do so by going to corneryourmarketpodcast.com and subscribe with the listening platform of your choice. That URL again is corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your friends and colleagues. Also, don't forget to leave a review. Those mean a lot to me and can help others that would benefit from the information we share. Finally, I would love to hear from you. I love getting listener emails. So if you have questions, feedback, or any general comment about the topics I discuss on this podcast, feel free to send me an email. I will be sure to share and discuss your feedback on the air if it will benefit our listening audience. You can write to me at connect@corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Just put listener comment in the subject line. That email again is connect at corneryourmarketpodcast.com. And again, please put listener comment in the subject line. Thanks for listening today. I look forward to being back next week. Until then, be good and do good.